Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer, and this is a Fox News alert. A massive cybersecurity breach has exposed the personal information of millions of federal employees. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating tonight the case that could affect every federal agency. Correspondent Kevin Corke has the latest on this breaking story from the White House. Good evening, Kevin.
Brett, good evening to you. Security experts tell us this is just the latest example of an ongoing cyber war with China. For the second time in less than a year, we are told that back in December, Chinese hackers accessed the Office of Personnel Management computers, and in the process, they may have been able to breach the personal data of more than 4 million current and former federal employees. For its part, the Office of Personnel Management is telling us tonight that they will be sending notifications to approximately 4 million individuals whose personally identifiable information may have been compromised in this latest breach. As for the FBI, as you pointed out, they are certainly investigating this. They have issued a statement that reads in part, the FBI is working with our interagency partners to investigate this matter. We take all potential threats to public and private sector systems seriously and will continue to investigate and hold accountable those who pose a threat in cyberspace. Of course, all of this is happening as the administration continues to struggle with yet another war, this time the war against ISIS in Iraq. It was a blunt assessment. Former CIA Director General David Petraeus suggested that contrary to messaging from the White House, we're not winning the war against ISIS in Iraq.
These are fights where if you're not winning, you're probably losing because time is not on your side.
And we are not winning.
Well, it's arguable now in Iraq. We'll turn it around.
The comments by Petraeus, who led the surge in Iraq in 2007, call into question the administration's strategy against ISIS, which has spread deep into neighboring Syria and recently seized the Iraqi city of Ramadi, where militants have closed off a dam, opening daily only 2 or 3 of its 26 gates along the Euphrates River, threatening villages downstream.
I think General Petraeus and other very well-respected military leaders are saying, look, pay attention to this now. It's still reversible now, but you've got to do something and probably got to do something big.
White House officials didn't deny there had been setbacks, but said that's to be expected.
I think General Petraeus knows more about this than either you or I do, that this is a typical characteristic of any sort of military conflict.
But on Capitol Hill, Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said it was Petraeus who bore responsibility for training many of the Iraqi forces who are now struggling to defend their own country.
I remember going over there on any number of occasions and hearing from him on some of them that he had trained 175,000 Iraqi troops and personnel so that they can take over their own effort. So I would ask him about that.
There is overwhelming pessimism about the White House's plans to stop ISIS. 71% of those surveyed in the latest Fox News poll don't think the administration has a clear strategy for defeating the terror group. Meanwhile, 7 in 10 supported more drone strikes in the fight against ISIS, and 66% said they thought we should be doing whatever it takes to defeat Islamic extremists.
This is why it's essential for the president to do an Oval Office address to the American people, talk about what's happening, and talk about how we are going to win this war against ISIS.
And we learned, of course, today from the White House that the president will conduct a bilateral meeting with the Iraqi prime minister at the upcoming G7 summit, though we were also told, Brett, that we should not expect any additional announcements about more money or even more training for the Iraqis.
Kevin Corke live on the North Lawn. Kevin, thank you. We'll head back for any breaking details on that story about the cyber attack. Meantime, to politics. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry officially tossed his hat into the ring today in an airplane hangar in Texas, hoping the second time's a charm. This as another former governor, Jeb Bush, sets a date for his announcement. Chief Political Correspondent Carl Cameron is in Addison, Texas tonight with Rick Perry, the presidential candidate 2.0.
Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush will announce his decision to run for president the afternoon of June 15th at Miami-Dade College. Bush is tied for the GOP lead nationally with Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker in the latest Fox poll. Bush will officially join the race upon his return from a trip to Europe. The news partly overshadowed former Texas Governor Rick Perry's big day.
We have the power to make things new again, to project America's strength again, and to get our economy going again. And that is exactly why today I am running for the presidency of the United States of America.
in an airport hangar with his name on the side of a C-130, such as he flew in the Air Force, and flanked by Taya Kyle, widow of American sniper Chris Kyle, and Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell, author of Lone Survivor, Perry declared his second run for president in 90-degree heat, with an emphasis on security and a slap at President Obama.
Weakness at home has led to weakness abroad. No decision has done more harm than the president's withdrawal of American troops from Iraq.
Perry aides had no comment about Jeb Bush stepping on his big rally, but there's a long history of tension between Perry and the Bush family. He served as then-Governor George W. Bush's lieutenant governor in the 90s. In 2012, Perry joined the White House race late and dropped out early, admitting after a series of gaffes and missteps that he was recovering from back surgery and unprepared to meet the demands of a presidential campaign. Not this time.
During my 14 years as governor, Texas companies created almost 1/3 of all new American jobs. Texas now has the second highest high school graduation rate in the country.
He's been out early and often in the early voting states and cattle calls, and gets a strong reception when touting his record on jobs and the economy as the longest-serving governor of Texas. The Fox poll puts Perry tied with Donald Trump for 9th place with 4% of the vote. Aides insist he's running for more than personal redemption. It's about restoring the nation's greatness. He's the 10th declared candidate. Bush, in 11 days, makes 11 GOP contenders and counting. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal, Ohio Governor John Kasich, and businessman Donald Trump are all expected to join the race in the next 6 weeks. For all of their differences, the GOP field is a pretty tight bunch. Florida Senator Marco Rubio will be in Connecticut tonight, headlining the state Republican Party's biggest event of the year. It's named after Prescott Bush. That would be Jeb Bush's grandfather. Brett?
And just to be clear, Carl, it is pretty hot in a Texas airplane hangar, right?
90 plus, yes. It's very hot.
Carl,
if
thanks.
Rick Perry looked like he was perspiring a little bit, everybody was.
All right. Also in Texas tonight, the Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton. Clinton spent today talking about voting rights, but last night she was pushing for campaign cash, something that wouldn't normally raise eyebrows, except when it's seen as giving her an unfair advantage even inside the Democratic Party. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry tonight on Hillary Clinton and whether the DNC is playing favorites.
Hillary Clinton today used the backdrop of an historically black college in Houston to launch an aggressive push to expand voting rights for minorities.
Today, Republicans are systematically and deliberately trying to stop millions of American citizens from voting,
including a federally mandated early voting period of at least 20 days in every state, and a federal system to automatically register every citizen to vote when they turn 18 unless they opt out. What she did not mention is minorities are exercising the right to vote in record numbers, a steadily increasing share of the turnout in presidential elections, 21% in 2004, 24% in 2008, and 26% in 2012. And Republican Marco Rubio noted on Fox's Outnumbered today, most states already have early voting and vote-by-mail options.
I'm not sure the federal government needs to set a one-size-fits-all standard for the whole country, because in many instances, depending on when the election happens, there isn't even federal candidates on the ballot. It might be for mayor, it might be for county commission or judges, and so, and there's costs associated with this. Someone has to pay for these extra days.
That came amid new questions about whether the Democratic National Committee is pushing a Clinton coronation or playing fair with the rest of the Democratic field, which now includes former Rhode Island Governor and Senator Lincoln Chafee, in addition to former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley and Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders, after the DNC's finance chairman, Henry Munoz, helped organize one of Clinton's fundraisers here in Texas, even though DNC rules specifically state the chairperson, in this case Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, has to make sure, quote, the national officers and staff of the Democratic National Committee maintain impartiality and even-handedness during the Democratic primaries. In the wake of Munoz's fundraising for Clinton, DNC officials scrambled to insist they're committed to fair play, an aide declaring in a statement, quote, we take any situations that could violate our party's rules very seriously. Wasserman Schultz may face a backlash if she and her staff tilt too far to Clinton. A new Fox poll found among Democratic primary voters, 69% say the race is not over yet. 28% say it's over and it's clear Clinton will win.
Now, the RNC weighed in late today on voting rights, saying the public also wants voter ID laws to help prevent fraud. Brett?
Ed Henry live in Houston. Ed, thanks. Up next, where's the backup plan? States are wondering what to do if the U.S. Supreme Court shoots down Obamacare subsidies. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 31 in Denver, where alarm is growing that a serial shooter could be on the loose. This after a man was shot dead on a sidewalk in Loveland, Colorado, Wednesday night. Now investigators are looking into whether it's connected to 2 other recent shootings in that area. Fox 11 in Los Angeles with another beach shut down due to tar balls washing ashore. The tar may be coming from the oil spill off the coast of Santa Barbara last month. And this is a live look at Eden Prairie from Fox 9 in the Twin Cities. The big talker there, controversy over a school field trip to an adult toy store. You heard that right. Last week, a private school's sex education teacher took about a dozen middle and high school students to the Smitten Kitten. At least one parent is telling reporters he didn't know about the excursion until his kids came home talking about it. The school board says it stands behind the trip. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.